Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Zach and today we are continuing a series of redesigns for Monster High. Today we are focusing on everyone's favorite baddie, Toralei. There was a certain amount of pressure going into redesigning Toralei because I feel like there's a mystique around her as a character and as a doll, because when she came out, I don't know if y'all can relate to this, she was extremely hard to find for me. In person, I mean. I was like 11 or 12 or 13, however old, by the time she came out, so like ordering online wasn't really a thing for me in particular. I would go to the store all the time though. Never once did I find this doll, except for once at a Claire's, of all places, which is like a jewelry store for kids. And they had her on hold for someone else, so I couldn't just take it. And that was hard for me. So I've always had like a reverence for Toralei as a character. And I felt like going into this, I needed to do a good job with designing her. And I heavily debated keeping the chop, the really, really short hair. I either wanted to do something like a pixie that was reminiscent of what it looked like in the animated shorts from way back when. But I gave in. I gave her the long hair. I had to. She was partially inspired by Hayley Williams, the lead singer of Paramore, and she was also heavily inspired by Spice, who was on this season of Drag Race, with like the McBling era type hair that's kind of punky looking. I'm really into that look, so I wanted Toralei to, give a taste of Spice. And to go along with that punky vibe, I decided to call upon the Brit pop punk of the early 2000s and going into the 2010s. I was really inspired by that movement of what took place over in the UK. In terms of fashion, very Vivian inspired, ripped up, asymmetrical, very British, just unapologetic punk. And that ties perfectly into the lore for G3, because Toralei is now with a British accent. She's still mean, which I like, but I like that she's British now too. It adds something. That's all I'm gonna say. It adds something to her character. Here's where you're gonna see me doing the line work, just cleaning everything up and giving it a sharp edge. I didn't record myself doing the sketch. Let me know if you want to see that next time. I just forgot to do it for this go-round, so I'll remember to include it for other designs going forward. Yeah, so you'll just see me finishing up the line work, and then we're going to move on to coloring. I'll say this, I usually don't have a problem with coloring at all, but in this case, Toralei's hair was really a project, because if you go back, her hair is like 5 different shades of red, 5 different shades of orange, and then the tiger stripes going down, and I wanted to include all of that, because I feel like if you miss out on anything with that production, it just decreases her fierceness level, and I wanted her to be the fiercest version of Toralei possible, so I just went all in with the colors. And honestly, I don't have much to talk about in terms of the coloring process. I knew for the suit that it was like a deconstructed type look, so the pinstriping wouldn't be consistent all throughout. I only wanted it on certain panels of the garment. And for the shoes, it's like that red yarn color. I think I did one red yarn color, and then I tried to do another one, but I like the red the most. And I attached that to the bottom of the shoe, so she's literally just walking on balls of yarn with no heel. So if that tells you anything about Miss Toralei. And you see in the hair the true Hayley Williams inspiration, that bright orange with the red. I just remember that so vividly from my childhood. I wanted to bring it back. It's like the most punk thing that I could put my finger on at that moment. And I also noticed with this wave that the hair was often the most complex part of the design, so I would just get the rendering out of the way before I moved on to the rest of it, which is not usually how I work. I usually like to lay out all the flat colors and then go back and do all the rendering. But the hair this wave was really complex in design, and I knew it would be complex to execute, so I just decided to get it out of the way, and honestly, that's the fastest way to work, in my opinion. Just, if you're having trouble with something, face it head on, do it right in that moment, get it over with. And honestly, once the flat colors go down, rendering is usually the fastest thing for me to do, because I don't have to think about where things go necessarily. I just have to know where my light source is coming from, and I can apply that to literally everything. The only difference being texture. And if you're working with fabrics, you can get away with a lot of different paintbrush textures. And if you're working with hair, I have a very specific way of rendering hair, which is cell shading technique, and I use inking brush. I know a lot of people who do a lot of different methods when it comes to shading hair, so you just need to find it out yourself. And honestly, that's my least favorite part, so that's why I don't change it up, because if it works for me, I just stick to it. It's the fastest way I can get it done. My favorite part of Toralei's design is probably either her hair, number 1, her purse, number 2, is just a big ball of yarn, and number 3, her shoes. I think her shoes are really interesting. I don't think they're practical, but who's going for practical nowadays in this economy? Wrapping up on this design, I knew it was probably going to be one of my favorites going forward. I still think Howleen is my favorite. That was my last design, but I really love this one too. I think it's really different for me. I don't usually go the punk. That's a lie. I do the punk thing a lot. So yeah, this is definitely up my alley. Alley cat. Alley cat. We love making puns unintentionally. And here's Toralei's design. I'm really proud of how this one turned out. It's super detailed, that's usually my thing. It's very punk, it's very pop at the same time. You can't miss her, she's a big fiery blob of orange. And clearly she was a companion piece, so stay tuned because trouble comes in threes. Thank you for sticking around, thank you for watching, thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and if you subscribe, I'll subscribe back, because I'm really cool like that.